I'm going to do this here, run through it here for speeds and feeds. I may decide to just post this part of the video. Otherwise, it'll be reference for me for later to be able to go text them back in. So the facing cut. The facing cut, I'm running at 900 RPMs. It's a facing cut, none of the faces left. So there's no real need to use constant surface feet. And constant surface feet, on big changes, the RPM changes so much, it takes time for the spindle to slow down and speed up a little bit going between the passes. If I could get it to change that speed only, you know, as it runs in, and anyway, blah, blah, blah. So, spindle speed at 900. The cut is 9 thou per rev. My lead-ins are right around 40 thou just to make things faster. And the step over is 8 thou. And I'm running 3 of them. Okay. So then for the profile, this is the roughing cut. And I added a lot. I was a lot more delicate with it earlier. And, you know, I was pretty happy when I got it down to like a 6-minute cycle time from a half an hour. So I'm real pleased now that it's down to just under 5 minutes. It's like 4 minutes 56 seconds. So I'm running 1,000 RPMs. I manually went in and changed it in the code to go 1,100 about here and 1,200 about here. It saves a little bit. If I repost this code, I lose that. I got to go back in. It runs just fine at 1,000. Its surface feet, when it starts out here at the biggest diameter, is 500 something, 560 roughly. And then as it goes in, it drops all the way down to like 350, which is why I picked it back up a bit. Anyway, so the cut is 13 thou per rev. And here's the roughing passes. The step down is depth of cut 14 thou. The roughing overlap 7 thou, which is, I just go with whatever it automatically sets. I don't care about that. I told it to use pecking. The pecking depth is 65 thou, and the retract is 8 thou. Stock to leave is 8 thou and 6 thou, and I use this to regulate the depth on the next cut, because whatever I tell it to leave here is how much it cuts on the next one. So we'll just we'll cancel that. Let's go to the next one. This is the profile. This is a single pass. Surface feet. I do this one with constant surface feet because it runs in one continuous pass all the way through. Whereas the other one, since it goes in and it cuts and it backs out and goes over, it would constantly change the RPM a lot, all the time, with on the roughing pass. So I just set it at a certain. Anyway, so this one is constant surface feet. I have it at 450 feet per minute. That seems pretty nice. I'm sure I could run it faster. I was running it slower, not getting as nice a surface finish. So you can go too slow when cutting with carbide. So maximum spindle speed's 1,500, just because I didn't want it to, run away to 2,000. If I decide to change this surface feet to 500 or 550, I don't have to worry about it running that up and spinning it too fast. 1,500 is all I'm comfortable with. So feed per revolution is 8 thou per rev. And then when you come in here, number of step overs 1. Now I told it step over of 10 because I know that it's only leaving 8 thou, because that's what I told it to leave on the last one. If I told it to do a step over of 8 thou here, depending on exactly how much material was left on the roughing passes, it would affect this, okay? Then I'd have to mess with 2 of them. So I set this one big enough that it would easily encompass anything I left, and then I played around with what was left with the stock to leave on the roughing pass. And I went down to like 6 thou, and then I went up to 10 thou or something like that, which is when I set this. And then I think I finally decided on 8 thou. Is that what I said in the last one? We already looked. And then with the stock to leave, that also played with that shelf there, and I could vary how thick that cut is. Because if I told it step over of 10, it's going to try to take 10 on that shelf cut. And because of the way the tool is, that's where the 5-degree edge is, something like that, 10-degree. It's not as optimal as it is, you know, on the flat surfaces. Anyway, so the finished feed rate is 6. I had that at 3.5, and that's what I was saying earlier with it wasn't quite as nice. Once I bumped it up to 6, it would allow the cut to shear off instead of rub, basically, and came out way nicer. So, and then for the inside, I'm running that at a constant 1300 because there's no reason. The cuts are within a few thou of each other. There's no reason to change the speed, you know, for the retract and stuff like that. So spindle speed 1300, cutting feed per revolution 6 thou. I had this at 3.5 for a lot of them, and it was really nice, but this was the roughing pass, and I was like, okay, I'm wasting time here. I don't need to do 3.5, and that just causes a little bit more wear and rubbing on the insert. So 6 thou here sets up the roughing pass, and then the roughing pass, I told it maximum 25 thou, and let it automatically set the overlap. This is similar to what I did on the other. I know that 25,000 isn't anywhere close. It's way excess. Okay, I'm only actually cutting maybe 10 thousandths. Maybe, depending on exactly how well centered that part is, because of that ID being so close. So I know it's not going to do 25. It just, that's where I put it. So the step over for the finish pass, one finish pass, 3.5 thou. The triangular insert seems to like that better. The tip geometry is different than the 80-degree diamond. Is that what that one is? So for the finish pass, it's coming out beautiful. I already showed it in the video. So finish feed rate of 3.5, and the step over is 3.5. So this sets the thickness. This just takes everything else. The roughing step down takes everything else besides that 3.5. And the finish has been so nice. It's only a 40-second cut for the roughing and the finish, so I just haven't seen any reason to really change that, push it, anything like that. What am I going to save? 5 seconds, 10 seconds maybe? Just not worth it. So so that's pretty much it. And I'm pretty much out of battery, so